this funky bar, and I stepped outside to smoke myself a J.
Friday Morning Update Wednesday. Paul Simon with the familiar musical reference to marijuana, apropos of our next subject, the Attorney General's race in Oregon, because marijuana is a surprise issue in that race as a former federal prosecutor and appellate court judge battle for the job. Joining us this morning, the former judge, Ellen Rosenblum. We talked with Dwight Holton, her opponent, last week. And, Ellen, we'll get to that issue in a moment. But I want to ask you first about your TV commercials this morning. Is it fair game, especially in a race where professional qualifications are all important, to spend so much time focusing on where your opponent comes from?
Where my opponent comes from. My opponent's from the East Coast. He's been here about 9 years. I've been here over 40 years. I think the important thing is that I've been a federal prosecutor here in Oregon. I've been a lawyer, and I've been a judge for the last 22 years. And I understand Oregonians. I understand our court system, our state court system. That's what the Attorney General is about. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to serve our people.
We asked Dwight about that last week. He said he and his family have been here for 9 or 10 years. He's worked in the system here. He doesn't think it's a relevant issue, but that's what we hear from your side of the campaign.
Prosecutor, and that's great. But that's federal, not state. That's prosecutor, not any civil law, and no experience in the state court system. So we're going to let the people decide who's better qualified to be our state's Attorney General. And I'm really looking forward to this election. We're doing great. Things are going well. The polling's looking really good for us. And it's really exciting to be a candidate. I'm just honored to be a candidate in our state. I'm the true Oregonian in this race.
Ellen, you mentioned the polling. You have a poll out that show you having a 32-17% lead over Holton. Holton's pollster has him ahead of you, 27 to 23%. Who's right, and what do you need to do to win the undecided voters, of which more than half are still undecided?
Right. Well, our poll's more recent, first of all, and our polling has shown me ahead from the very beginning. So I'm not intimately familiar with his pollster, but I'm very confident in ours. So things are looking really good there. And, yes, there are many undecided voters still, as there always are, as we get down to the wire like this. So I just want to get my message out that my office as Attorney General is going to be looking out for children and troubled families, for seniors, for small businesses, for our environment. I built my career as an attorney on prosecuting cases of fraud and representing the public's interest in fair business practices. And I've been a judge for over 2 decades. People know me here in this community. They've seen that in my courtroom. I treat people fairly. I give them a fair shake, and that's what I'm going to do as Attorney General as well. I'm going to look out for our most vulnerable citizens. And so the 50 or so % who haven't decided yet hopefully are going to break and go my way pretty soon. I'm really excited to have a victory on Election Day coming up on Tuesday. We've worked really hard for this.
The marijuana issue, are you surprised it came up? And Dwight keeps talking about your indication you'd give low priority to enforcing that law in Oregon, and he's questioning whether that's the right way to go.
Well, I believe in enforcing the will of the people, and the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act is the will of the people. It's been on the books here in Oregon since way before Dwight moved here in 1998. So, of course, I'm going to enforce that law. It's an important law for our most vulnerable citizens. It's actually a matter between a doctor and a patient. The doctors authorize medical marijuana cards for those who are suffering from debilitating, painful conditions. And so, absolutely. And, the Attorney General, just like the DA, Mike Shrunk, has done, has to be able to prioritize law enforcement spending. So all I've said in that regard is that pursuing small-time marijuana users or attempting to dismantle a law that's been on our books for the last 14 years and that's doing a lot of good for vulnerable citizens in our communities would be a waste of public dollars needed to prosecute dangerous criminals like heroin traffickers, child predators. Those are the kinds of cases that I'm going to take on as Attorney General. I think that's what the people want.
Ellen Rosenblum, she's one of the Democrats running for Attorney General in Oregon. No Republican in this race, and less than a week to go now. I expect we'll talk again before Election Day. Finally,
I hope so.
And thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. All the best. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Glad to talk to you, too.